Hey YouTube. So, a couple of you guys have asked if I would go ahead and make a video sharing the Mcat study schedule that I used. So, I'll do just that. And I made a Excel spreadsheet for you to go ahead and download and follow along with the video. So, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and pause the video and then download that so you can follow along with everything I'm explaining. Alright, so basically the study schedule that I've made up is a 6-month long schedule, and I believe 6 months gives you the optimal amount of time to study. I know some people can do it in less, and some people may need more, but 6 to 8 months I believe is the ideal range for studying, and it just so happens that the schedule I made is spans over the course of 6 months. So you'll see that there's two sheets to the Excel file. There's the first 3 months, and then I forgot to name the second sheet. It's sheet 2, and that's the second 3 months. So looking at the first 3 months, week 0 is what you might want to do now before you even start studying if you haven't started already. And that is take a diagnostic exam. And now there's a lot of different companies that offer a diagnostic exam. I believe Next Step does, Princeton Review does, maybe Kaplan, I'm not entirely sure, Altius maybe also. And if you go ahead and take that diagnostic exam, that'll get you used to sitting down and taking a full-length exam, or some of them are half-length. But either way, you're getting used to sitting down for long periods of time and taking an exam. So by no means is this a realistic predictor of where you'll be at the end of these next 6 months. If you score absolutely in the very bottom, it's fine. We'll get you where you need to be. And for those of you who have asked which book set I used to study, I used the Kaplan Complete 7-book review set, and I found these to be fairly comprehensive. I definitely was able to get a grasp of almost all the content. The only exception being in the behavioral science section, I would suggest going ahead and getting the Princeton Review Sociology and Psychology book as a replacement to the Kaplan Behavioral Science section book. And that's because the Kaplan book, I looked through it, and after other people suggesting the switch, I agreed and saw that there's definitely a lack of some content in there, and I believe Princeton Review does a much better job in covering that section. So go ahead and purchase that book as well if you would like. So you'll see after the diagnostic, the next 12 weeks are filled with your content review. I have it laid out where you're studying 5 out of 7 days a week, getting 2 days off, and you're going to go chapter by chapter through all 6 books. And what that's going to look like is you'll go through all of the chapter 1s, so biology, chemistry, orgo, behavioral science, and then I missed one, physics. So you'll break that up week by week. Week 1, chapter 1, week 2, chapter 2. If you're looking at the Excel sheet, you see what I mean. And that's, I think, is the best way to go. If you go subject to subject, then I find that, which I started at first with, I found that I was not as I wasn't able to follow and remember some of the content from the very first book as time progressed. So I believe that because the books build on themselves and the content follows in a chronological order most of the time, it's best to go ahead and go all of the chapters in order throughout the weeks. Now, you're going to have to figure out how you want to do the behavioral science. If you go ahead and get the TPR, Princeton Review book, for Psych and Soc because it's 8 chapters instead of 12. All the Kaplan books are 12 chapters. You'll figure it out, don't worry. But besides that, that's the first 3 months or 12 weeks. Going on to the second 3 months, I believe the first 4 or 5 weeks should be spent doing Kaplan or Khan Academy passages. KA is Khan Academy, and I believe these are very helpful passages, and they're pretty reflective of what you may see on an AAMC passage. And for that reason, I think it's great to get some exposure to these types of passages. Doing 3 each day from each section, as minus cars, as you'll see, is really a good comprehensive review, getting you used to doing actual passages. Okay, so a day in one of these 5 weeks of doing 9 passages in a day is really going to look like doing either all 3 of one section and then moving on, or doing 1 of each and then do all 3 sections and do another 1 of each for all 3 sections. However you would like to, go right ahead. Just make sure you're reviewing your answers and understanding why you get the questions you get wrong, and writing down concepts that you might be fuzzy on so that you can also review those. And so if you need help in a certain area, go back that day and review that concept so that you understand it for later on. So that covers almost the first 5 weeks of the second half of this schedule, and I have you taking your first full-length exam during week 5. I forgot to change the weeks, so this really should be not week 5, but rather week 17, really, but you understand. I took my exam on a Saturday. That's why I have day 6 as the first full-length exam. But depending if you take it on Friday, you can change up your schedule a little bit. Not too difficult. Each Saturday, ideally, you should be taking a full-length exam, whether it's Next Step, Kaplan, Princeton Review, any of them, Altius, I missed one in there, I forget which one I missed, but, or Exam Crackers. So, be taking full-length exams. I have you taking 5 full-length exams, and then the AAMC unscored full-length and the AAMC scored for a total of 7 full-length exams. I think that's a great number. Moving on, the AAMC OG is the official guide, which is, I believe, 120 questions. You can spread that across the 2 days. That's what I would suggest. Do some questions from each section, and then the next 2 days, day 4 and 5 of that week, spend reviewing them. So that week will pretty much cover the official guide, which is a great resource. Make sure you use that. And then really the next 3 weeks after that are spent on the section banks. The section banks are incredibly important for your Mcat studying. They are 100 questions for each science section, and you're going to want to definitely split those up across the week. So as you'll see, I have it as a half of the section bank, which would be 50 questions, and then 10 CARS passages from the question pack. I believe the CARS question pack is the only question pack worth buying. The rest I didn't find a real use for, and there's for the whole pack, for every section it's about $70. Definitely probably could have only bought the CARS and been fine. The section banks are probably some of the most difficult practice material you'll have. Definitely spend the time needed on them and review them well. You definitely are going to learn a lot from the section banks, and they're going to expose some weaknesses that you might not have known you had. So definitely take your time reviewing it and teaching yourself the content regarding the questions that you get wrong. As we go on, after the section banks, and you're getting into the last 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to want to focus on reviewing passages and doing practice passages of your weakest section. So for me, mine was Chem Phys, and I took the exam crackers full-length exams, and instead of taking them as full-length exams, I broke them up and just took the Chem Phys passages and did those. Didn't really time myself, just did them for practice, reviewed the ones I got incorrect, and taught myself the material for the ones that I needed to review or got. And I did that for about a week or two. I would definitely spend those last 2 weeks hammering out passages for your weakest section, because your other sections, you're doing pretty good on them. You have a good understanding of that content. You really are going to be gaining, potentially gaining some extra points if you hammer out some passages in those last 2 weeks on that section that you're struggling with. And you'll notice that throughout those last few weeks, you're also going to be reviewing your full-length exams after you take them, so you can also learn from those mistakes as well. Those last 2 weeks, the last 2 Fridays or Saturdays before your actual Mcat, I have you taking the AMC unscored and then the scored. Definitely review those. Definitely teach yourself the material that you get wrong. And then, of course, the last week I have completely blocked off for relaxing. Going into that last week, the worst thing you can do going into your Mcat is feeling burnt out. You don't want that feeling. Take the necessary days off. This schedule is laid out in a manner that gets you through all the content so that you're not rushed in that last week thinking you need to review a whole lot of content when you don't need to be. Don't worry about random facts that you're probably not going to know. Just worry about relaxing and preparing yourself mentally for that Mcat. And last day, you celebrate. You're done. So this is my 6-month study schedule. For those of you who are watching and are already starting, I've already started studying. It may not be as helpful, but for those of you who are looking to start studying soon, consider giving this a try. It's I really think it is quite comprehensive, covers everything you need to be doing, and covers uses all of the practice material that I think you should be using. So besides that, if you have any questions about my schedule or any other resources that I might not have included and you're wondering about, feel free to leave a comment and ask me. Leave a like on the video and subscribe if you'd like. If not, I'll talk to you guys later.